How can someone who is a successful personal trainer on social media diversify their brand towards their other core interests, such as country singing? Is this possible, and if so, how?
I make content about business. I make content of me going and buying things at garage sales. I make content about me in corporate business environments for entrepreneurs. I make content about NFTs and Web3. I make content about the New York Jets. I make content about eating blueberries. I think that people are incredibly not kind to themselves. You know, like the thought that this, to your point, even if you weren't great, people would just love you more if you were an average country singer, because people like people, not just for one thing, but humans have gotten too philosophical. Even the fact that you said, I don't want to dilute the brand, humans now think of themselves as product. You literally just sat here and said, I don't want to dilute the brand, talking about yourself. And I don't think that's bad. I think it's an insight to, I understand how you're thinking, but the strength of a human being that is much stronger than Evian is that you're not a brand, you're a human being, which means you're 9 brands. Your strength is that you're 9 brands, not it's your weakness. The problem is everyone has become so addicted to a metric on a social media that they are accustomed to getting that it's stopping them from their happiness. People are not striving for their happiness because they want to get an average of 7,000 likes that they're accustomed to. They don't have the courage to get 800 likes, but be happy. So just be happy. Right? Like, if you think about it, so many of you have wanted to post something else, but you knew it wouldn't get good engagement. Think about how fucked up that is. Meanwhile, what you don't know is it's probably the best thing you can do to eventually get to double engagement. You just have to have the courage to be fully authentic in the short term, but it's so good. I desperately hope that people figure this out. And it's been a core strength of mine. My content is all over the place. My Instagram grid doesn't look the same. You never know what the fuck I'm gonna get from me. You really have no idea what's gonna come out of my mouth. Of course, there's things I'm consistent about kindness or work ethic or thing, but like, you know, like, here's NFTs now, and when I'm ready, I'll talk about AI, and you know, like, and so I think you have to allow, all of you have to allow yourself to be yourself. It is where your strength is.
Humans are not just one brand. Allow yourself to explore and embrace your multiple passions. Don't be afraid to rebrand or pivot. People often prioritize social media metrics over their happiness. Have the courage to be fully authentic and post what truly makes you happy, even if it doesn't get as many likes. As a personal brand, your content and interest doesn't have to be consistent. Allow yourself to be unpredictable and showcase your multifaceted personality. It's where your strength lies. While it's important to embrace your multiple passions, it's important to maintain consistency in values like kindness and work ethic. The idea of humans as a product or brand is limiting. Remember that you are not just one thing, and embrace your unique qualities and interests. Don't be afraid to pursue your passions, even if they seem unconventional or outside of your current brand or career path. It's what will bring you true fulfillment. Don't let social media metrics dictate your self-worth or happiness. Remember, they are just numbers, and prioritize your own well-being above them. A photographer is passionate about his craft, which involves creative architecture photos with humans. He is torn between posting content that showcases his craft or following the trend of sharing photographic tips for mobile phones. He wants to know whether he should post his craft or focus on the content that will get him more engagement.
The world, for some reason, the world is addicted to the word or. And so much happiness can be found in the word and. The answer to your question is both. Right? Like, think about how simple that is. It's like, should I do this or should I do this? What you just said. When the reality is, the social media platforms in the world is this whole table. You can easily do both. There's room for all of it. You're not compromising one or the other. This is where people got into silly scenarios where like, you better not post this because it's gonna fuck up the algorithm. Remember that? Like, it's all silly bullshit. Both. This is why a lot of what I just talked about is gonna work. You're not gonna, you wanna post a country song and then the next day a workout video? Good. Like, the capacity for and is unbelievable.
I think in a sense where like the trend, like, you know, photography tips is like, if I keep doing that both, like, I mean, my craft and photography tips, like, what sets apart from me and other creators where actually they also post the same thing?
Why are you worried about the setting apart? What's gonna set you apart is you're different. We're all set apart, right? To your point, it's a really interesting question. The amount of people that do things because they think in scarcity, not abundance. You believe that you doing something similar to other people does not have enough capacity for both of you to eat. I think everyone's doing the same shit. There's 7 million people doing the same shit you're doing. Every one of you. There's thousands of people that wait for me to post something and just make their own version of it an hour later. And it's still not taking away from me. It drives my team crazy sometimes. They're mad at people, but like, yeah, there's no scarcity in that. You understand?
Thank you.
Yeah. Even like, you have to understand, like the adjective you use in your copy, like the adjective that's different than someone else's adjective already makes you different.
Instead of choosing between two options, consider doing both. Social media platforms offer enough room for different types of content. Don't compromise one for the other. Don't be afraid of doing something similar to others. The world has enough room for all kinds of content. Thousands of people make their own version of your content, but it won't take away from you. What sets you apart is your uniqueness, not necessarily your content. Even small differences like using a different adjective in your copy can make you stand out. Don't worry about setting yourself apart. Focus on being yourself. For a musical artist who's trying to make it in the modern world using social media to create brand relevance and build brand equity on top of it, how does one do it without feeling overwhelmed? How does one deal with feeling guilty when they aren't on top of everything?
What I'm about to say is, well, if it feels overwhelming or guilty, like you don't have to. You know, like the reality of all of this is, if you can't do something that genuinely makes you happy, it's not gonna work out anyway. If you're doing it because you know you should be doing it, because you're trying to build a career, but it's not enjoyable, that is not a sustainable model. Ironically, my piece of advice is to maybe take a break, which seems like a complete curveball for me, but to me the concern is, if you're doing it for the money, if you're doing it because you're like, well, if I'm not top of mind, someone's gonna come, and right? That comes from a place of fear. It comes from a place of defense. You need to find joy in it, right? And so one of the things I think a lot about is people are always trying to make content that they think will work versus making content that they want to make. It especially concerns me with people that like, you know what I get a lot of questions about is people that grew because they're attractive and they no longer want to post naked pictures. Not fully naked OnlyFans, I mean just like, you know, it's a very common question, which is like, I'm now 27, I built 4 million followers because of who I was as a 22-year-old. I don't want to do that anymore, what do I do? And the answer is always like, stop doing it. Like, you know, you're asking a very similar question with a slightly different tweak, which is, it's not gonna work if you don't like it anyway. So maybe there's other things you could be posting, which is a thing that everyone should be thinking about, which is, like when I didn't want, like I built my career in 2006 on YouTube making wine videos, and then I didn't want to. And everyone said I was crazy. And when I stopped making wine videos and started making business videos, everybody in the wine business told me that I was making the biggest mistake of my career. Because that's all I was known for. I just was building a wine business. I was one of the most followed and like understood people in that era. And people are like, what are you doing? And my comments were like, why are you talking about business? Just stick to wine. Like, what are you, like, but it didn't even cross my, like I started over, my engagement, my view, all started over. But I knew it wasn't gonna work anyway. You need to find something you want to do. Like, you need to post things you want to talk about. You know, otherwise you can't be sustainable. So what do I think? I think you have to make this work for your soul. Because if you don't, it's not gonna work out anyway. Look, my answer to this question are two extremely opposites. My answer is everybody at this table should be posting as many times as humanly possible on every platform. Comma, and I just told you that maybe you shouldn't post for 3 months. You have to be self-aware of what you're about. To maximize commercial success, you need to post on everything from LinkedIn to TikTok to Snapchat to Facebook, stories, long form, short form, audio, written, all of it. The amount of humans that can achieve that are almost none. It's hard. You could though, but let me give you another example. There's a lot of people at this table and around the world that make a lot of money doing this and should spend it by hiring 4 people so they can make more of it. That's what I did. Instead of keeping the money and buying a fucking Bugatti, I hired people and made it bigger. So like, everyone has to decide what they're doing here.
Doing something that doesn't bring you joy is not sustainable. It's important to find something that you're passionate about and that makes you happy, or else you won't be able to sustain it in the long run. Don't do something out of obligation or fear. Authenticity is key. People can tell when you're not being genuine, and they'll be less likely to engage with your content if they feel like it's not authentic. Focus on making content that you enjoy and that aligns with your values, and your audience will appreciate it. Posting on every platform can help maximize your reach, but it's also important to be self-aware and know when to take a break. Don't push yourself to the point of burnout, but also don't limit yourself by only posting on one platform. Experiment and find what works best for you. Investing in people can help you grow your business and make it bigger. Instead of keeping the money for yourself, hire people who can help you expand your reach and make more money in the long run if you have the capital to do so. It's a smart investment that can pay off in a big way. You have mentioned AI is on the rise for content creators and brands. Is it worth looking into for podcasting? What do you see in that world?
I think AI is underrated against its hyperbole right now. I don't think people have really wrapped their head around how big of a technology it is. I mean, podcasting's a pimple on AI's ass. It's a big deal. I would say many things. One, every one of you should be playing with it. Midjourney, you know, ChatGPT, you need to just taste it because it's like, it's almost as if this was 1997. I was like, you should just be on the internet. You should try it because it's gonna be too big for you to avoid it. Everybody in this room, everybody watching in this camera will be massively affected by AI for the rest of their lives. It's only gonna get more significant, not the other way around. So I think first, all of you should be just playing with it. Second, I think it's gonna help a lot of people. Like, I can write effective blog posts every day. Right now it's hard for me to block written copy. I have somebody on my team, poor Mackenzie, I'm sorry Mackenzie, she like wishes I would talk to her to make blog posts, but I don't. It's just too hard. I don't have the time for her to interview me. With ChatGPT and things like it, I'll be able to write an entire meaningful blog post by recording, ChatGPT, I want you to write a blog post on why I think Snapchat in APAC is a good idea for influencers, especially if they do beauty, and like, I can like talk for a minute and a half, hit enter, and basically just send that to my team and say, just edit a little bit and have a meaningful blog post every day, all day long. Then there's also the creative variable. Mr. Beast spends $100,000 to make a thumbnail. Mr. Beast spends $100,000 plus on thumbnails. Long form YouTube. Do you understand that in 12 months, you can say something smart into a generative, creative AI bot that will produce a better thumbnail than any day of the week that Mr. Beast can come up with for 100,000? Like, this is profound. So what do I think? I think it's gonna completely change the world. I think every one of us, me included, and anybody else who thinks a lot about more than I even do, are grossly underestimating it. It's gonna be exponential, and I think everyone here needs to take it serious because it's a huge opportunity.
According to GaryVee, AI is a game-changing technology that will have a significant impact on everyone's lives. He believes that it has the potential to revolutionize the way we work and live, making tasks more efficient and effective. He believes that AI presents a massive opportunities for individuals and businesses to make a big difference. By experimenting with it and exploring its capabilities, people can harness its potential benefits, such as generating meaningful blog posts or creating better thumbnails for videos. And he believes that people are currently vastly underestimating the power and potential impact of AI, encouraging everyone and businesses to take AI seriously, as it will be a transformative technology that will affect everyone's lives, and those who do not try it will fall behind. He recommends that people start experimenting with AI, especially with chatbots, but also using stuff like Midjourney. By doing so, people can get a taste of AI's capabilities and start exploring its possibilities. As someone who has to wear multiple hats in life as a parent, when you feel like you're saying the same thing over and over repeatedly, how should you deal with content fatigue?
Two things. So the first thing, on the content fatigue, the question I would ask all of you is, who are you making the content for? My belief is that most people are making the content for themselves and what they want out of it. The reason I don't have content fatigue is because I get great joy out of making the content for all of you. So for me, I'm capable, and my friends ask me this all the time, aren't you tired of saying the same shit over and over? And I'm like, never. For example, for some of the people here that have been consuming my content, I think this will resonate. There's been things that really, if you think about the 3 best pieces of content that I've ever made for you, I bet you'll realize once I say this, that you had heard me say it 19 other times prior to that. It was just that you were ready to hear it that time. So for me, when you've got as powerful of a story that can help so many young women, like actually being vulnerable and authentic about having an eating disorder, you could talk about that every day for the rest of your life, because you know on the other side, there's some girl in Stockholm right now that needs it. So for a lot of you, content fatigue comes from the fact that it's selfish, not selfless. That's not bad. I have plenty of selfish wants and needs too. But I think the reason you can easily get to a place of not having content fatigue is similar to what resonated for you about loving the process. Once you make all of your content for the sake of the person on the other side of it, you'll never stop. So that's one place to think about. The second one's ironically the complete reverse answer. The thing that you need to do with overwhelming is to be kinder to yourself. With all the hats that you're wearing, especially mothering 3 children, all of us beat ourselves up too much. That's where you need to be very selfish. The place where everyone needs to be the most selfish is in the way they love themselves. The way things are quiet for me and not overwhelming is I'm my biggest fan. But not in a narcissistic, egotistical way, in a I'm compassionate to me. You have to be nicer to yourself. We're human beings. Every person in here is gonna do something stupid today. I think I'm really good at stuff. Business, I'll make it narrow. I think I'm really good at business. I'm gonna make 150 big mistakes this year. Having the capacity to be kind to yourself and predicate it on your effort is everything. You know, and that doesn't mean don't hold yourself to a standard. That means just have more compassion to yourself. You're juggling a lot of shit. Family, business, brand, 3 children, and content creator, you've got a lot going on. You're allowed to have a bad hour, you're allowed to have a bad day, you're allowed to have a bad week, month, and you're allowed to have a bad year. We just need to be nicer to ourselves.
Many people experience content fatigue because they create content solely for themselves. By making content that serves others, you can find joy in helping others and avoid burnout. Wearing multiple hats can be overwhelming, so it's important to show yourself compassion and kindness. Self-love is a crucial form of selfishness that can help you navigate the challenges of life with more ease. Being kind to yourself doesn't mean lowering your standards. You can still hold yourself to a high standard while also having compassion for yourself and recognizing that mistakes are a natural part of growth. By predicated self-love on effort, you can achieve success without sacrificing your mental well-being. When content creators and personal brands are sharing themselves online and we receive adversity in engagements, how should we best detach from it?
It's a great question. So what you're saying, I assume, is when you as a content producer put something out and someone is shitting on you or it doesn't perform well, how do you let that not affect you? You know, I mean, I think all of us have to really recognize who we are. You know, for me, I genuinely am more passionate about being a nice person than I am about being a successful businessman. And so like, but I just happen to be also good at business. Like, she just happens to be capable of singing. That has nothing necessarily to do with her capacity of being an entrepreneur and building a fitness app. They're just all these different dynamics that we all have. I think what was powerful about what I said on that podcast was I also knew that a lot of people would be listening to it. And it's been something I've been thinking a lot about, which is like, why am I so capable of being happy so often? Why don't I have the normal amount of anxiety when I have the rationale to have way more anxiety? When you're being judged at the level that I'm being judged, when you are 47 and have lots of dynamics in your life at that point, like there's a lot going on in my life, and yet it's just all so quiet. And so you start asking yourself why, and it's how I got to that conclusion. I'm like, oh right, I just don't care. I don't care that I'm good at business. I don't think I'm special. This is all very nice, and it feels incredible to have people say nice things, follow me, like, but I don't think it makes me special. I just don't. I think that's good parenting. I think that's luck of DNA. I think there's a lot of things going on there, but I can tell you that the faster all of you can get there, the happier you will be.
How late did that come for you, or how early?
It came so early.
Really?
Notice how I said the reason I think I'm sick? It happened before high school. The reason I liked high school so much was I didn't give a fuck what people thought of me.
Yeah.
That's really hard. Like, it seemed normal to me. The reason I was such a good businessman was I did business instead of trying to be popular. I did business instead of trying to get good grades. You know, I was just in a very funny place my whole life. I was just always willing to be, I was always, you know, the only thing I think I'm actually great at, like truly, is being myself. And so I think like for all of you, it's back to what you just said, like if I could wish anything for all of you besides health, it would be deep self-awareness. Because once you know who you are, you can actually start to navigate the world outside the framework of the world. This is why I talk a lot about buying watches, and like most people buy shit to project, not because they actually like it. They think they like it, they don't understand the bigger meaning. They like the affirmation, they like the attention, they like the validation. They don't actually like it. They force themselves to like it as a proxy to get what they wanted.
Prioritizing social media metrics over happiness is common, but being fully authentic and posting what truly makes you happy is crucial. Don't let likes dictate self-worth. Content and interests don't need to be consistent. Showcase your multifaceted personality and strengths on social media. Pursue passions even if unconventional or outside current career path. Don't let social media metrics define you, prioritize your well-being. Recognize that personal value isn't tied to business or social media success. Deep self-awareness helps navigate outside the world.